Welcome you all to this video lecture series on basics of Python programming. This is M. Anbalagan. Through this video lecture on functions in Python, I'm going to cover the essential things about the functions in Python programming. Functions, the definition for functions is in fact a function is a block of interrelated statements that will perform a specific task. Or I can say a function is a block of codes used to perform a specific task. With functions, we will be able to break our program into multiple manageable units. And also, as and when our program grows larger and larger, if we have functions in our program, if functions are taking place, then the programs will be easily organizable and manageable too. With functions, we can avoid the repetitive task. There is a principle that we will have to follow while writing programs in any programming language. The principle is called the dry principle. Don't repeat yourself. So in order to avoid dry principle alone, we want to have the most expected thing in all programming languages called the code reusability. In a functional programming language like C, we will be able to at least, will be able to achieve this code reusability at least to a smaller extent through functions. In programming languages that fall under the category object-oriented programming paradigm, there are different ways to achieve the code reusability. But in functional programming languages like C, the best way, the known way to achieve code reusability to a good extent, to a smaller extent, is functions. So let me now switch over to the demonstration of functions. The advantages of functions we are going to see now. With functions, with the demonstration of a program, I am going to explain how functions can help us organize our code into manageable units. That would help us to reduce the complexity of our code, also improve the readability of our code, and also we will see how we can achieve the code reusability through functions. But before switching over to the Python's, to the idle shell for seeing the demonstration, we will have to look into an example situation where we have a program consisting of hundreds of lines of code, but there is no function available in the program. There is no use of control statements like the conditional statement or the branching looping statements available in the program. In such case, if a program is having only hundreds of lines of code, the program will be looking very, very complex to understand. The readability of the program will be very, very poor. In order to get rid of this problem, we may go for functions or the extensive use of control statements and the conditional statements in programs. Fine. Programs that are falling under the programming paradigm called the imperative programming paradigm. Like we used to say, like in the programs written in imperative programming paradigm are, they are analogous to the recipes that we will use, that we will go through while cooking a dish for the very first time. So in that case, we'll be going through a recipe that is written by somebody else. Fine. In that way, the programs will be looking like. Programs will be mimicking a recipe, food recipe. So using functions will help us improve the code readability. It allows us to reuse the code that is written by us sometimes back. Now let me switch over to the Python shell, idle shell, for showing the demonstration on how we can use functions in our programs to achieve code reusability or to easily organize our programs consisting of hundreds of lines of code or thousands of lines of code into easily organizable units. So now for this demonstration, I will be preferring to use the script mode. I am not going to go ahead with the command mode in Python shell. Now to open a new program in a new file in script mode, I need to go for a menu, file menu. From there I'm choosing new file, and then let me first save this file before I want to type something. So a new file is opened here. I'm going to save it now. Save. A name I'm going to give for this. Yeah, let it be function1.py. I have already created a file with the same name. Let me now replace that file with this new file, functions1.py. And I'm also going to use magnifier for the purpose of zooming in the code that I'm going to type here. The program that I'm going to create here, that I'm going to enter here in this file, will be for doing the arithmetic operations like addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. So all four operations I'm going to do in one single program without using functions. So now in that case, I need to introduce two variables called a and b for storing the inputs that will be given by us, that will be given by the user of the program through keyboard. So a is equal to int of input of enter the number 1. So closing of parenthesis, balancing of parenthesis is compulsory in Python, otherwise we'll be getting errors. So b is equal to int of input of enter the number 2. So the inputs for this program are successfully obtained through these two statements in the program. And you might be aware of the reason why we are using the function called int before this input function. The input function will help us read the inputs through that will be entered from the keyboard. And basically Python knows only the string data type, and in order to convert the data that is read as string into the appropriate destination data type, the necessary type conversion should be explicitly done by us. That is the reason why we are doing this type conversion at this point of time in these two instructions. Now having the inputs for this program are successfully obtained, it is now time to perform the operations. C is equal to a plus b. We can immediately print the result of the sum of two numbers. The sum of, we can go for using the format function by using the placeholders. The sum of placeholder 1 and placeholder 2 is placeholder 3. Over here we will have to use the function called the format of. Now for these empty placeholders we are going to substitute some values. The values for these placeholders will be taken from the variables, namely a, b, c. And the care must be taken by, as while placing these variables inside the the method or function called the format. This is in fact a method, not a function, because we are making use of the dot operator, and the prototype of this method is given over here, string name dot format. So the ordering is important. The same order will be followed while substituting the values for these placeholders. And nextly, I will have to do the next operation called the subtraction, which is nothing but d is equal to a minus b. This time I'm not going to retype it. I'm going to use the same print statement, but this time it will be the difference. Let it be the difference of placeholder 1 and 2 is 3, and here there is a small change that I need to do, and e is equal to a into b, and this is for the purpose of doing the multiplication. The product of this and that is going to be the final placeholder, and for that I need to substitute the value that is stored, that is held in e. F is equal to a by b, and here comes the division of placeholder 1 and 2 is going to be the placeholder 3, and finally here I need to print f. So this is how a program will look like if there is no function. This perhaps is a simple program, but when it comes to a program consisting of large number of lines of code or lines of instruction. LOC, which is nothing but the measure to, a factor that decides the complexity of a code, lines of code. LOC means lines of code. So when we are not able to have minimal number of lines of codes in our program, the program will be looking very complex. So that time we need functions. Now, yeah, in this program we don't have any functions. We don't have any functions here. The same program can be rewritten by us by introducing functions. That time the program may look very easy. The program could be easily organized into manageable units called functions. Let me run this code. I'm sure it is not going to show any error. It is asking me to enter the number 1. I'm sorry about that because my numlog is not on. Let me now re-execute this code. Run module. I'm giving my number 1, number 2 I'm giving. So it is showing me all 4 results, the results of all 4 arithmetic operations. Yeah, the result, what we expected is produced by the program. But the problem here is there is no readability. There is no proper organization of the code. A very simple way to organize this program into easily manageable units is called functions. Now I'm going to introduce functions here. Now for introducing functions, what we are supposed to do here is, let me open a new file. Let it be functions2. This time the program is going to be functions2. Yeah. So I need to define my functions here. For the sake of the understandability alone, I'm going to straight away use functions without giving any descriptions at this point of time. Later we will see the different components in the function. That time we will see the nook and corner, the nuances that are necessary for functions. So while as and when we want to define a function in a program, in a Python program, we will have to use the keyword called def. That will indicate the fact that we are going to define a function. The name I'm going to give for this function is going to be add, and this is going to be the parameter list that will be accepted by our function. And this function is going to store the result of the addition. So C is equal to A plus B in a variable called C, and that will be returned by the function over here. So this is in fact the function for addition. I can copy this code, paste it here. The thing that I need to change here is, it is going to be subtraction. So C is equal to A minus B, and this is going to be multiplication, and this one is going to be A into B, and finally this is going to be the division operation, and over here this is going to be A by B. Now we have defined all 4 functions that are responsible for carrying out the arithmetic operations that we have done in the previous program. Time to get the inputs. I'm introducing a variable called x, which is for obtaining the input number 1. Enter the number 1. It will be stored in the variable x. Y is equal to int of input of, enter the number 2. Yeah. Now the only thing that is remaining is we'll have to call these functions, because unless we will call a function, the function will not be executed by the Python interpreter. So we will have to call these functions explicitly. Okay. So for calling the functions, let me now go for print of, I can use the same thing, the format method. The sum of placeholder 1 and the placeholder 2 is placeholder 3 dot format of, this is going to be x comma y. I need to call the function. While calling the function, I will be using the name of the function followed by the parameter list. Yes. So the parentheses that we used here, they must be properly balanced, otherwise we will be resulting in errors. Now there are three opening parentheses, and for these three opening parentheses there are three closing parentheses also. Now in order to print the other three results, we'll have to go for the print statements, and this time it is going to be the difference of, let it be the difference of this, and that is going to be the function called sub. Yes, and here this is going to be the product of this, and that is going to be the name of the function is multiplication. And finally we have the division operation, and for that I'm printing the prompt string, the division of this, and that is going to be div. I'm calling the function here. So if I ask a question like, where is the program execution going to start, at which part of this program? Does the interpreter start the execution from the function add, sub, mul or div? No, because they are in fact function definitions. They will not be executed unless they will be called by us explicitly. So the execution of the program starts from the input statements that are given over here. X is equal to the first number, y is equal to the second number. And as and when in all these print statements any of these four functions is called, their corresponding definition will be executed by the interpreter. Even if we make any mistake inside of these functions definitions, any of these four functions definitions, they will not be shown to us in the very first place unless we are going to call them. So we'll have to call those functions, then only the interpreter will touch upon these function definitions, and if there are errors committed by us, they will be shown to us. So now, yeah, I'm calling the function add here. And one more thing that we can see now in functions definition, in all these functions definitions, the parameter list is consisting of a comma separated list of parameters like a, b. In all these functions, we are using the same parameter list a, b. It is not going to create any error because they are in fact local variables. Their scope, it is within this functions definition add. And while looking at the inputs that we are getting from the keyboard, we are using, we are storing them in two different variables called x and y. And here also inside of these print statements, when we pass these inputs to these functions add, sub, mul, div, we are using x and y only. Now you can see the difference here. They are x and y, and in functions definition, in function calling they are x and y, and in functions definition they are a and b. That way we can understand the difference between them. X and y should be called the arguments. This is called the argument list, and this is called the parameter list. In functions calling statement, the variable list that we have is called the argument list, and in functions definition, the input list that we have, the variable list that we have is called the parameter list. Now the program that we are seeing here is, functional wise, the operation wise, it is identical to the previous program. But the difference here is we can see now in the previous program there is no function. The program is not organized into manageable units. There is one single block of code. But here in the second program that we recently wrote, the program is organized into manageable units called functions. With these functions, the real advantage here is we can not only improve the readability of the code, we can not only organize the code into manageable units, but also we can achieve code reusability. Now imagine that we want to do addition operation for another two variables. In that case, we need not do the operation. We need not rewrite the code for doing the addition. For example, suppose p is equal to int of input of enter the number 3. Suppose I am asking like this, enter the number 3, and q is equal to int of input of enter the number 4. Now for these two numbers I am going to do addition operation. If there is no function here, we will have to write something like r is equal to p plus q. That means repetitive task. We are attempting to use the same code. We are attempting to repeat the same code. That means we are violating the dry principle. Don't repeat yourself principle. But here we have function. We have a function called add, So there is no need to rewrite the code that is required to perform addition operation on P and Q. So what we can do here is we can print the statement. We can use the print statement. The sum of placeholder 1 and 2 is placeholder 3. There we can go for replacing the variables x and y by p, q, and in the function add also they are going to be p and q. So this time the inputs alone are changed. The code remains the same. The same code. The function's definition for the function add, it is going to be used for the second time. No matter how many times we are going to perform this addition operation for the different sets of inputs, we are not going to repeat this code. We are not going to copy and paste this code, but with the same copy of this code, we can perform multiple additions, multiple subtractions, multiple multiplications and divisions respectively. That is the reason why we want to say with functions we can achieve the code reusability. Yeah. Let me now execute this code in order to see if there are errors we have committed. I'm going to give the same set of inputs. Now after printing the results of all these 4 operations, it is now asking me to enter the second set of numbers. I'm entering 15 and 12. It shows that the sum is going to be 27. Yeah. So that way, with functions, we can improve the readability of our code. We can organize our program. We can also achieve the code reusability. So with this demonstration, let me now switch over to the presentation to discuss further about the things like the different components of a function. The key components of a function are going to be the following. The first and the foremost key component for a function in Python is going to be the keyword called the def. Unless the keyword def is kept in front of the function's signature or function's header, the program will be resulting in an error. So def must be used. The second component is going to be a suitable name that we will give for a function. This name is like a valid identifier that we use for variable names or for in any other occasions. So valid identifier in the sense it can be alphanumeric, but the first letter of the function name should be strictly an alphabet, or we can go for a special character called underscore. Now following the first letter we can have the mixture of letters and numbers. It's up to us, but no other special character excepting the underscore symbol is allowed. And after the function name, we will have to give the input variables list. In functions definition, we'll be calling them the parameter list. After giving the parameter list, we need to specify, or we need to put a colon. The colon symbol should be kept. That will give away a way for creating indentation for the statements that will be kept inside the function. And if necessary, we can have next to colon, if necessary, we can have documentation string to describe what the function will be doing. But documentation string is going to be an optional one. But if we give documentation string, that will be useful for the third persons who will be reading our program, who will be using our program. And next to documentation string, we can go for something called the block of statements, the interrelated group of interrelated statements that will be kept inside the function. And the indentation that we will be using for the statements that are kept inside the function should be at the same level. So indentation means the amount of white space that we will be leaving from the left margin of our Python shell, idle shell. So that alone determines the block of the code in Python. In programming languages like C++, C, or in Java, we have a facility to use curly braces in order to define a block of code. But here that option is not available. So we'll have to stick to something called the indentation. And finally, a function may return a result or may not return a result, but if it returns, we must use the keyword called return keyword for returning the output produced by our function. So all these are going to be the key components in a function in Python. Let me now recall them. Def is a keyword, function name, These two are mandatory. Parameter list is optional. Colon is mandatory. Documentation string is optional. Python statement is going to be mandatory. And finally, return is also going to be an optional one. So with that, let me now finish this video lecture. In our forthcoming video lectures, we are going to see in detail about how we can pass arguments to a function, how we can communicate with a function, and the different types of functions. All those things we will be covering in the forthcoming video lectures. Thanks for attending this lecture.